want to be wealthy? Do you want to be in control of your finances? Do you feel like you mostly get financial advice from people who are trying to sell you a bank's products? If your answer is yes to any of these questions, then stay tuned because you are at the right place. Welcome to Money Convos, a club committed to helping people achieve financial freedom by providing education and guidance on personal finance and investments. We have a group of experts who share their knowledge and give practical advice with no strings attached. At Money Convos, we have candid, mature conversations about wealth, how to create it, grow it, and protect it. We share our experience and encourage our audience to share theirs and ask questions. Join us every Thursday on Clubhouse at 7 p.m. GMT. We also have book discussions that bring out practical lessons. So far, we have read Dumb Things Smart People Do with Their Money, The Richest Man in Babylon, and The Millionaire Next Door. Most importantly, we have one-on-one financial coaching sessions where we guide individuals through setting financial goals, retirement planning, budgeting, investments, risk management, and so many more areas. The goal is to get you to financial independence from whatever income level you're at. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Clubhouse. The handle is at Money Convos GH, or send us an email at moneyconvosgh@gmail.com so we get you started on your journey to financial freedom. Now that you're all caught up, let's head into our next conversation.
Okay, hello everyone. How are you doing? I'm hoping you are good. Hi Jennifer, how are you doing? Sorry, Jennifer, you have to unmute. Hi Jennifer, can you hear me? Hi Jennifer, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Okay. So welcome everyone to today's conversation. I'm Elikem and your regular host of Money Convos Conversations. I'm here with Jennifer. Jennifer, would you like to introduce yourself?
Uh, my name is Jennifer Boati Minta. I also joined the Clubhouse conversations where we talk about money. So yeah, I think I'm also quite familiar.
Yes, this is our first foray into Facebook. And Facebook is going to open us up to even more people. Because you don't need a Facebook account to view this. So, I guess we'll be introducing ourselves every now and then until we become regular faces here too. Okay. So, without much ado, today we are going to have a conversation on the psychology of money. It's uh, it's a book we introduced last week in a clubhouse session. Um, Jennifer, you've read it. You did our intro last week, and you've started reading it. Anything you are looking forward to in this conversation?
Okay, I'm really looking forward to us diving into the behaviors and attitudes that we have and our thought patterns that direct the way we spend our money or the way we conduct our finances. And I think we'll have very close by examples where we can see how people who are very close to us or ourselves have money problems or money and things we can learn from them, and also about the fact that small steps. I want to foreshadow it a bit, but the power of compounding, how it is doing wonders in people's lives, and how we could also use that in our lives. So I'm really looking forward to conversations around those topics. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, for me too, I'm also looking forward to those things you've mentioned. It's compounding interest, especially, and even more so. I think the last chapter we'll be looking at today, getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. I'm pretty sure a lot of people have a certain understanding about wealth. So, looking forward to us debunking those myths, if I should put it that way. Yeah, and I like how the book starts. It goes straight to the point on the chapter, psychology of money. For some reason, I was expecting that it would be about another book on money tips, invest here, invest there, but it really kept true to its name about invest psychology of money. So I'm looking forward to seeing what the book has in store for us. All right then. Feel free to drop your comments in the comment section or send drop emojis if you so desire, and feel free to ask any questions if you want to join in on the conversation. But we will jump straight into it and talk about the first chapter. No one's crazy. Interesting title there. No one is crazy. Jennifer, what do you think of this title? What hit you when you saw it?
No one is crazy. Your weird behavior or patterns can be explained by something, or you are not. It's very ordinary when we are looking at that behavior among a lot of people. So yeah, you are not crazy. What about you?
Yeah, yeah, it reminded me of a certain thoughts. Like there's no normal. Like one man's meat is another man's poison, right? Someone wants likes to have things in a certain way. You can't wrap your head around it. But there are certain pointers that the book mentioned that made it make sense to me. Suddenly I'm like, so that's why this person behaves that way and I behave this way, and we all think everything is normal. Like some I say certain things to some people and they are like, oh, that's strange, but for me, that's the way I've lived all my life, right? So, all right. So, let's see. I think there's this part of the book, just um, what's the term for it? It's there's this quotation written under the heading of the chapter, and it says, "Your personal experiences with money make up maybe now follow these numbers 0.000001% of what's happening in the world, but maybe 80% of what you think the world of how you think the world works." I'll take that again. Your personal experiences with money make up maybe 0.000001% of what's happening in the world, but maybe 80% of how you think the world works. Isn't that just amazing? We people walk around the world with their experiences. Oh no, this is how life is. This is how things should be, and yet it's really such a tiny sliver of what happens. Jennifer, what do you think?
So, roughly, I think we are about 8 billion people on this planet. So, taking an individual called Jennifer Boati Minta, what I am doing is the 0.000001% of the aggregates of transactions of stuff that are going on in this world. But then, because of my experiences, how I, let's say, the books I've read, the exposure that I've gotten, I think, 80% of what everybody's doing or what goes on in the world is what I am doing. And I think some people stand on, depending on where you are based, let's say with your career work, and then some things that your knowledge, you feel like, especially that niche that you're in, you can account for 80% of what is going on. But then it may not be so. So then I think it makes us feel we are like a little more self importance, that I'm doing something that is very very up there with everybody else, and let me say, contributing to society with my the stuff that I'm doing. But then when you aggregate everybody in India, in China, in Russia, in Africa, it's just a small part. But then again, it makes me think that, you see, we have behavioral patterns. Even though I am in my small corner doing something,
we have accepted norms in the world. And so if we've all decided that to kill a person is bad and so we are going to jail, then, and if I am in that line of behavior, then that means that I am actually forming part of that 80% that I think I am. So it makes you understand that seriously you are quite insignificant. But then again, in the broad sense of broad strokes, you are doing well with your life. Yeah.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, you are quite insignificant. It's humbling, right? And I see a like for you for what you just said. It's people are appreciating what you said, and but then it doesn't take away the fact that in your life it means a lot. Can you think of
Yeah.
any experience in your life where um, perhaps you can relate to this, or more specifically, which experience, maybe one experience in your life that has helped shape your view about money, and possibly someone else who hasn't experienced this can relate, anything like that?
Okay. So I grew up in a middle class family, and I think our fortunes sort of dipped a little when I was in around like SHS one, yes. And so I became very, very, very cognizant of where my money goes to. And I want to give you an example. One time, so people who traveled from, let's say, Kumasi, Sunyani, who to Legon know that there's a campus bus, like there's a group on campus that organize buses to come to school. And one time, so if you go to Circle, let's say your fare from Legon to Circle is going to be very expensive. When you get to Circle and you're taking the bus, there when you're putting your stuff under, they would charge money. When you get home and all of that to money. So then everybody clamors to take this bus. And one time I was coming to school and then the Sunyani people didn't. So I lived in Sunyani, sorry, background. The Sunyani people didn't organize the bus. So I wanted to go to Kumasi and then join the people in Kumasi and take the bus. I woke up at 4 o'clock to get ready and go to and join the bus in Kumasi. Got to the bus station at 4:30. Nobody was joining the bus. The bus left Sunyane at around 6 o'clock, and by then I knew it was too late because it takes roughly 2 hours to get to Kumasi from Sunyane, and the bus was leaving at 6:30. But then I was calling the people and begging them to help me. And then I got to Ebuaka. Everybody who knows Kumasi knows Ebuaka traffic. I got to Ebuaka and I stood in the traffic for another almost 1 hour. I got there and the people were waving me bye bye. So I went to actually stay and take a normal public bus. And believe you me, I cried. I just sat down and started crying because the amount of money I spent from my house to Kumasi to join that bus. If I had just sat down and done a rational understanding of things, I wouldn't have done that. I just taken a straight bus to Sunya to Accra to Legon. So after I don't sorry, but there's this post cry clarity that you get after you cry. And after I got
That's a
that,
good one.
yes, you people have one, but I don't want to go there. So
Oh, don't go there.
after I got that clarity, I decided that things like this are not going to go over me again. So now, any situation that I'm in, I do an analysis of at least three things that can go wrong, because it's usually like all the things that can go wrong will go wrong and then you'll be found wanting with your plan. So I am very, very particular about like paths and ways that, oh, if this thing doesn't work, my backup is this and I'll be fine. I'll just go on and do that backup and then life continues. And I think that's really helped me even beyond my money like stuff. Life, things happen, you just reroute your path and then you keep moving. So yeah. Do you have something to share as well?
Yeah, that's a good experience. For me, I would even give an example, a contrast, and for me, it's something that my mother used to do for us when we were young. She used to make us save, and have the susu box thing, and always put some money away. So it's saving just comes naturally. It's normal for me. Then recently, well, some months ago, someone said that poor people are too busy trying to stop to not be poor, or trying to get out of poverty to even save, right? Something to the tune of that. There's a saying like that, and it makes sense. For me to, I would say, but that's strange. Why can't you put something aside? But there's a certain minimum that you have to get above to be able to say that, okay, and I have some extra to save, right? And so yeah, having this knowledge that other people are there and have different experiences helps me to have that clarity, and also to cut some people some slack. Not that, oh, anything goes, of course not, but there are certain instances where you just cut someone some slack. What, Charlie, you see someone buying something ridiculous and you say, but this thing is just ridiculous, and you go like, what, where the person is coming from.
Yeah.
Just give the person a break, right? It's like when people exercise and they have a cheat day, like, oh, Allah, or it's a diet and they have a cheat day, just cut them some slack, right? So there's that. Just one last thing before, we are taking 5 chapters and we
Yeah.
intend to keep this in an hour. But just one last anecdote from this book that I want to refer to, and to anyone who hasn't read, hopefully this would make people want to read it. It's the anecdotes or the story about um, poor people and lottery tickets, right? And it said, the book says that uh, one Americans spend more on lottery tickets than on movies, video games, music, sporting events, and books combined. So much money goes into lottery tickets, and you wonder who buys it? Poor people. And they said that the lowest income households on average spend $412 a year on lotto tickets, right? And yet 40% of Americans can't come up with $400 in an emergency. So
Yeah.
effectively, you can say that these same people, instead of keeping that money in an emergency fund, they are blowing it away in lottery tickets. Sounds weird, sounds ridiculous, right, Jennifer? And someone go like, yeah, and what's your thought on this? Sounds ridiculous, right?
Yeah, so you see, from where you are sitting, you say, God, like you have, you if you add all the money that you are putting together, you could have had an emergency fund. But
Mm-hmm.
these people don't think like that, and you wonder how it is fine for them where they are coming from. So that means that their upbringing has a lot to do with the mentality that they have. And it's not, I don't think it's even only there. Even in Ghana, people do very, very weird things that you wonder how they are going on. For instance, the same lotto in Ghana. I don't know if you've seen the people who usually patronize lottos. It is men who are like very, very poor men. They go from the beer bar and then they go and use the small money to go and do the lotto. And it's sort of giving them some hope that things will get better, but not wanting to sit down and do the work to get them better. Because imagine you put in emergency fund of 400 CDs when they've been told that there's a 1 in 1 million chance that they can get 1 billion Ghana cedis from where they are going. And so that probably gives them some, I don't know, that 1
Yeah,
million hope that they can get it. But then from where we are going and how we are reading the book, it shows that if you are able to put 400 CDs a year down for emergency fund, next year you could do the same 400. And before you realize, you are getting somewhere than the lotto tickets will probably give you. Because let's be very honest, how many people get that 1 billion in that lotto that they do? So, yeah.
true, true. But even before, let's say, before should I say, having an opinion on why they think this way, right? Let's
Okay.
see what the book says. And it says, yes, you said 1 in a million chance, but you see, they are like, they live paycheck to paycheck. You understand? The things that we would know, we in the middle class take for granted, we have a home, we have health insurance, they can't afford that at all. However, when they spend that $1 at a time, $2 at a time to buy the lottery ticket, and of course, they add up to that 412. This is what they are getting. They are buying, that lottery ticket is the only time in their lives that they have a chance of achieving that dream that you are living. It's They are paying for a dream, and you don't understand it because you're already living that dream. So yeah, it's really appreciating it, and the book sums it up in the point that, you know what, you are different, you think differently from the way I do, and what you are doing seems crazy. Like, you don't have an emergency fund. That money can be your emergency fund, but you're putting in lottery tickets, right? I know it sounds crazy, but you know what, hold up. Now that I understand what you are saying, I kind of get it. I kind of understand why you are doing it. And you know what, all right, I hear you. I'm not passing judgments. I kind of understand it. And it's when we get to that acceptance of how people are different and when they do different things for different reasons. I think the world will be a better place with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to, or okay, you want to say something?
Oh, I just wanted to wrap up with the where you grew up, what's
Mhm.
your experiences where that shapes you. So usually you would somebody would say something and it won't make sense to you, but then when you understand where the person is coming from, the person's background, and
Mhm.
then let the happenings around the individual, you understand that will make sense, and then it will be a normal way of living for that person. Yeah.
Exactement. Exactement. Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, so let's go to chapter two. And chapter two says, and to the viewers, you can see on the screen, we have chapters listed in the chapters of the book listed on screen, so you can see. Chapter two says luck versus risk. Right? Luck versus risk. These are two words that I think we appreciate luck more often. And it depends on how spiritual you are. You may even call it grace, right? We appreciate the luck part, but I don't think, in my experience in Ghana, working in the finance industry and engaging with a lot of clients and potential clients, I don't think we appreciate the risk part so much. But this chapter, reading it was quite yet another humbling experience. I guess that's the theme for me, the theme of this book, another humbling
Yeah.
experience, right? But Jennifer, before we enter the specifics, what's overall, what do you think about luck versus risk?
So, especially the example, and I think we'll get to the example later on about
Or perhaps
Ken.
you could give the example now to help.
Okay, so Bill Gates had a friend called Kent. Them they grew up together, went to school together, and they had the same dream. We're going to be big men, CEOs, and even that the Kent man had a briefcase that he used to lug around, and so he actually was there. If you saw the two of them in middle high school, he had the persona of, oh, this man is going to be rich, but he died before they completed high school. He died in a mountaineering accident, and the sad thing is that for you to die in a mountaineering accident, I think he said there's one in 300 or 3 million chance. There's a 1 in 3 million chance that you will die in a mountaineering accident, and that man died in a mountaineering accident, and so we don't hear his name now because he died and Bill Gates didn't, and so Bill Gates has gone on to become rich. And it really brings it home because sometimes you different two people are on the same path, seem to have the same, let's say, exposure or the same things brought into their lives, but then their paths veer off very differently. And some people will say that one person had luck and the other person had quote unquote misfortune or risk. And so the book is making us understand that a lot of things depend on you. A lot of things that will happen in your life depend on you. But then you are not negating the fact that outside forces can direct you, also direct your path. And Eli, I want to give an example of this. May sound cheesy, but there's a movie called Me Before You that is a rom-com. The way you're smiling, you've watched the
It's a
movie.
what? Rom-com.
Romance comedy.
Okay, all right.
Yes. And so the guy was on his way to doing big things, and then a motorbike hit him, and then he became wheelchair bound. He couldn't function above his chest, below his chest, sorry. So his life was cut short then. And so this book makes you understand that you're doing things, and you should factor in the luck part. And what I learned from this is you should be able to live life so much that, and your finances, make money, everything, have such a holistic experience, living, that if something happens to you today, that will make you not go on as you are going. You will still have lived a fulfilling life in your finances, in your career, in your family life, whatever you hold dear. You'd have been able to amass enough experiences, wealth, and whatnot for you to call it a good life. And also position yourself in the same way that if luck finds you, my goodness, you're just jetting upwards and upwards. Yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, it's true. Sad experiences, right? And Mimi is calling it grace, the other word for luck, grace. You know, these experiences, there's not much you can do about them. You know, the risk part. Like, for me, I had a health scare last year. I thought it was my time to go sometime in August, right? And had I gone, life would have continued, and we could have said, oh, we had bad luck, right? But I survived. You say it's grace. It's there are two things on opposite ends, and the opposites, like you mentioned, the statistics about Bill Gates' friend. And I've read books about Bill Gates. Jennifer, we've read these books. Was it Outliers about Bill Gates? I thought, oh, yet another Bill Gates story. But I was so surprised how it turned out, right? Because even that book that went in depth about Bill Gates did not
Didn't
mention
mention.
Kent.
Yeah, yeah.
In case you're wondering which book we are talking about, Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, the book that talks about the concept of 10,000 hours came from, and it talked about how Bill Gates became who he was, as successful as he was, and even that book that was so detailed about his upbringing and how the stars had to align to make him who he was, to achieve what he did, and with Microsoft, did not mention Kent. And that shows you that as some people say in local parlance, a card day. Something more, right? That will separate you, right? And but yeah, you pray, and you do you do your best and leave the rest for God or the powers that be, or for faith, right? But speaking on the positive side, the luck side of things, it was also a one in a million chance for Bill Gates, because um, let me do the statistics. Let me read that statistics part about this book, about what the book says of statistics about how it came to one in a million. For Bill Gates to have founded Microsoft, when he was in his childhood, his high school had a computer, and they leased a computer, and so that's what he kept practicing with, that propelled him to become who he was. But let's look at the statistics. In 1963, according to the UN, there were 303 high school age people in the world. 303 million high school age people in the world. 18 million of them lived in United States. So we are narrowing it down.
Yeah.
270,000 of them lived in Washington State. That's Bill Gates' state.
Yeah.
A little and only a little over 100,000 of them lived in the Seattle area, and only 300 of them attended Lakeside School, Bill Gates School. So we started from 303 million high school age people and narrowed it down to just 300 people. Now that truly is a one in a million chance. Now those 300 students had a chance to use a computer. Very few people had a computer back then. You get it. This is 1968. We can't. Bill Gates is as amazing as he is, intelligent, has achieved a lot. We won't take it away from him. But what are the odds that the stars would align like that? What
Exactly.
are the odds? And I can imagine some people sitting in their homes thinking, Charlie, if I was just born to Bill Gates or to some Arab, some Saudi prince or somebody, my life would be a whole lot different from it. Right?
Oh,
It's the it's a lottery, right? It's luck. Some of these things happen by luck, and it's humbling when we realize that it takes a certain stroke of things that we can't control. In the middle there are so many things that we are doing: go to school, work hard, learn hard. But on the fringes, there's the luck that will come in, toss things up or down, and put things in array. So yeah, in summary, speaking of luck and risk, another angle to this concept is you take John D. Rockefeller and Vanderbilt. Anyone who's paid attention to business and capitalism has heard of these names. Rockefeller is famed to be some the he's the richest man ever in the world. I guess now we will have to compare him with Jeff
Yeah.
Bezos these days, but he's been rumored to have been the richest man ever. And there's this practice he has of law flaunting. Especially in Ghana. There's corruption, but we never really point. No one ever really gets arrested and jailed for that, right? But we all know it exists. But yeah, Jennifer, what do you say about their behavior and how they broke the law to get rich?
Yeah. So I like the way the author puts it, and he said that when is it corruption and when is it being very intelligent around bending and moving around the law. You
Yeah,
see, a
pardon me
word.
if I can just. Sorry,
Okay.
pardon me. Other adjectives that you're looking at, like innovative, entrepreneurial,
Yeah.
ahead of the
Yes.
curve, ahead of
Yeah.
regulations. Please, yes, not steal your thunder, but yeah.
Yeah. So you see, let's say somebody else doing it or something may have not augured well like the way it did for Vanderbilt. And so you really wonder if you could follow. You see, sometimes we are like, oh, what did Bill Gates do? What is Jeff Bezos doing at this point in time? Let me follow him hook, line, and let me follow him line by line. He takes a step, I step in that step. But then you can't do what Rockefeller did because you may not be able to get away with it. Rules are stringent now than let's say they were then. A lot of things 9/11 have come for has come for a lot of things to be more stringent now. So I think the where the author was going with this is you can't just say that, oh, Rockefeller did this, got away with it. So Jennifer in her corner is also going to do the same thing and hope to get away with it. No. So you're looking at broad strokes and broad themes of success and not minutest detail of what the people did. And I like to just mention this here too. The people that we look up to are not perfect. Nobody is in this world. You will hear something about them in another aspect of their life, and you'll be like, hey, this person did this. You see, so it's not looking at the tiny, tiny details and making it, I have to be like this. No, but looking at the broad strokes and how you can um, emulate that. Yeah.
Yeah, no one is perfect. So looking at what we can relate, but really, luck and risk just make us realize that we do our part and then we see what will happen, right? Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I see more people joining. Welcome to the conversation. If you are joining now, this is Money Convos, a club that is committed to your financial freedom. We have conversations on Clubhouse and now Facebook Live, and very soon many more avenues. We are getting out of Clubhouse to expand it because we believe we have great conversations that people um, should be able to have a part of this conversation, hear what we are discussing, right? So today we are having our book reviews and we'll be doing them every Monday, 7 p.m. here on Facebook. We'll be sharing the link on our various social media. We are on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. So just search for us at Money Convos GH, right? And yeah, today our first book for the year is what we are discussing: the psychology of money. We are reading chapters 1 to 5. Next week we will be continuing, and I'll share where exactly we will be for next week. So, continuing, never enough. That's the chapter. That's what the third chapter is discussing. Never enough. Jennifer, would you like to get after reading this chapter? Right. Let me ask you this: after reading this chapter,
Mhm.
how has your opinion changed about the word enough?
So enough means, I used to think that enough is not a lot, but not small too. Just okay to meet my needs. Just sufficient. Yes. Like break even, something like that. Yes. But now I think from reading the book, I realized that enough is realizing that the so instead of fighting more, just doing more for something, look at the broad picture of what I want with my life, and make do enough in all aspects to have a more holistic life, and not think that, oh, enough is more on the back, like the not good side, where I'm not getting a lot more of what I want, but just the bare minimum. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yes, you are. It's not just about the bare minimum, right? It's a little over that, right? And this chapter tells us the story of some people, and the theme is you need to know when to stop. All right, you need to know when to stop. I just read a small part of this book where it said enough is not too little, right? Sometimes when you think about having enough, like you said, it's like okay, just have something small, but no. Enough is not that. Enough is when you realize is the opposite, that an insatiable appetite for more will push you to the point of regret. So perhaps as young people, where I can imagine a lot of us have been young before, some are older, but a lot of us have been young. When you start out of school, your first care is how do you how do you get a job? Oh, if I get a job that will pay me 1,000 cedis. Well, back then, when I was doing my national service, 437, 438 cedis. They remove 1 cedi for welfare. So 437 cedis, right? So I need to get a job that will double that, or you give me like 1,000 cedis. Okay, now I get 1,000 cedis. Oh, if I get a job that will do 1,005, it will work out well. I'm sure a lot of people are also going through that. Oh, if I need to pay rent, I need to start saving, I need to do this. If I get a job that will give me 2,000, another job 5,000. The goalposts keep shifting. It's not
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's not ridiculous. That's fine. It's
The
fair.
normal house life. Yeah.
Exactly. Especially if you want to get married, you want to have children, or you want to pay for higher education, all that. It's fair. But the question then is, at what point do you stop? Is it when maybe you are working in an institution where you have access to money, or you can be corrupt, and now you are getting that you are being paid 10,000 cedis a month? It's not enough for you. For someone has to come and pay you to do your work, corruption, and then you are taking 1,000 here, 5,000 here. You are changing numbers. You are doing this because you want to reach where you are getting 100,000 a month, but that's not enough. The book. I'm sure this is something that can be relatable, but let me even mention something that the book says. Or Jennifer, would you like to talk about the example of, is it Rajat Gupta?
Um.
So okay, so this was or do you remember the story now?
No, please go on. I'll chip in.
Okay. So this person he started from Calcutta, some slums he started from a slum in India, but he rose in his 40s, become the CEO of McKinsey, one of the world's most prestigious consulting firms. And when he retired in 2007, he had roles in the UN World Economic Forum. He was doing philanthropic work with Bill Gates. He was on a director of 5 public companies in the US. Charlie, he's come from the
To
bottom
five.
to high a high status, to a point where his net worth was $100 million. Guys, we're talking $100 million. See, we like to say billion, but Charlie, if you give me 100 million, I'll be okay. I will be very cool. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I want more, but I'll be cool. But now he's the boy. He's meeting a lot of rich people. He's meeting CEOs, athletes, billionaires, right? And he wants to join that billionaire club. Look, someone will buy a yacht. He's 100 million, but someone will buy a plane or a yacht that is 200 million. No. Right now, he wants more. So what did that insatiable desire for more cause him to do?
Inside the
Because of his
trade.
unique insider trading, right? Because of his unique position on boards of directors, he he called some. He was in a meeting, a board meeting, where they were was it a takeover was about to be announced,
Yeah.
and he ended that call. So the records can show that he ended that call, and he called his trader, and he bought some shares, or he bought some shares. Is it 16 seconds before the announcement or 16 minutes before the announcement? Just a short time, he took advantage of information that was not out in the know, and that's illegal. That's insider trading. And then he made a profit of $1 million through that. And this wasn't just a one-time thing. Eventually, the Securities and Exchange Commission caught up to him, and he had done a lot of these, and I think it racked up to about 17 million in profits
Million.
that he had made from these kind of transactions. You are at 100 million, you want to add an extra 17 million, and now you end up going into jail. Your whole reputation is lost. Everything, yeah, like everything is done, and you can't buy back your reputation. So that extra 17 million that you got, you ask yourself, was it worth it to lose all the 100 million that your actual hard work got for you, your good hard reputation got for you? Was it worth it? So you remember the story now?
Yes, I do. I do. Thank you.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? And I guess the lesson that the book teaches us is, there are certain things that make us want to do that. Social comparison and money convos, we say this very often. Walk your own walk. Don't look at what other people are doing. Have your own plan, follow your own plan, right? But some people want to just follow what other people are doing. This person is richer, they want to do it. But and another point that this book made is that let me find it. It said that there are certain things that are invaluable, and that you shouldn't be willing to lose those things to gain
To get
extra money,
something.
right? Which of those things, invaluable things, strike you most? Before I
So,
get into details, yeah.
I think family and friends really struck me because, as you know, Elikem, I've been doing some introspection, and I like to just throw more light on this. Just before I got sick last year, and it was quite intense. And at the end of the day, I had, like, it was my family and my friends who were there, took care of me and all of that, made sure I was fine, and then I recovered. My cousin even traveled all the way from Sunyani to Accra to come and look after
Wow.
me. Yes, and this is a woman who has kids and has a husband, and I was really impressed. And I was, so I've just been thinking, like, this is something I never want to be able to lose or trade off for extra money. I want to be able to keep the two hand in hand, grow my relationship with my family and my friends, and still make money. So then I don't trade their family and friends off. Yeah.
Wow. That's an impressive story. On the flip side, any of Jennifer's friends who didn't go and visit them when she was sick, they're looking at you.
Yeah.
Please, I'm one. My sister was also sick.
Oh yeah.
The
Yeah.
previous
I
time when
didn't
she
want.
was sick, I went.
I didn't want to they cannot let you tell your story. That's why I didn't add that. Yeah.
Okay, okay, all right. But yeah, that's and it's at those points that, like you said, you really value these things, and you ask yourself, would you put yourself in a situation? So I can imagine, right now, if something is happening that could jeopardize those kind of relationships, you think twice about it and be willing to give up certain
Yes.
opportunities, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
just to quickly share a similar example, when I was getting married, my best man, my best friend, I hope I'm not outing him by putting this out in the internet, right? An experience that he didn't tell me until months, if not even more than a year later. He had to go and do some work in Nigeria, and this thing he had planned. He had given his work colleagues and superiors heads up that on these days he won't be available because of this wedding. And some of his superiors made a comment that, "Oh, but they cry, I mean, their friends go for these things, do they go?" But he was like, "You know what? When he has children and something happens to his children, it's friends like me who come and take care of their children. It's You could have the money and it's nothing. It's not it's not the money that's going to solve those problems. When I fell sick like this, my mother, my wife, my the close people, they were there to take. See, serious example, right? I needed to eat. I was hungry, and what I wanted was Cerelac. And what is the money I didn't have? I had like 100 Ghana notes in my pocket at the time because just to buy Cerelac for me. See, the nurses were busy; they couldn't go. And another a mother of another patient nearby went to buy it, and see, tears. I wept. It's not that you don't have the money; you have the money, but how to move from point A to point B to go and buy the food that you need is a problem. But it took another human being just being generous to go and do it for me, right? Anyway, so yeah, I could relate with that. So let's not jeopardize things that we value. What are some of the other things that we value? Are invaluable. Our reputation, freedom and independence. You get a job or you go and do some deal that you can't you when you Charlie, people your hand is in people's mouth, they are blackmailing you, Charlie. Watch out. All right. Happiness, especially in this day and age, 2022, people are talking about the soft life and having peace of mind. It's mental health has become a big deal. So these are things that you shouldn't jeopardize. So you need to ask yourself how much is enough? At what point can you say, you know what, I'm not ready to trade off certain things because everything is a trade-off. If I decide that after this conversation, I'm going back to work, it's time. I haven't had supper. Am I going to give up supper? Am I going to give up giving time, spending time with my family to go back to work, or will I balance it out and say, you know what, I'll take a break, spend some time with them. When they are asleep, get back to that. But how much of sleep am I going to have? You got to balance it out, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next point, confounding, compounding. The next chapter, confounding, compounding. Find the right? Hey, if I
Yeah.
can you try to do it like 10 times fast?
No, please. This alliteration
Oh,
here, I don't want to kind of face myself. Thank you very much.
this one is not an RNL problem. Let me try. Confounding, compounding, confounding, compounding, confounding, compounding. You know what? It's okay.
Compounding,
All right.
compounding.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a title, and I see comments. People shock for here. Yeah. It's all about compounded interest, right? Compounding interest, right? Jennifer, I'll leave you to tell us a bit more about this.
Okay. So, compound interest is the seventh wonder of the world. It is mind boggling and it really teaches you patience. So, I want to give an example that was in the book. Bill Gates is a phenomenal investor. Anybody who
You mean
hasn't heard of
Buffett?
Bill Gates is probably under a rock.
You mean
Now,
Buffett?
oh, sorry, Warren Buffett. Sorry, Warren Buffett. I was going on a spell then I forgot. So why if you don't know Warren Buffett, then you are probably under a rock. As Elikem said, there are probably 1 billion books that have been written about Warren Buffett. But now the thing is that he started investing at a very, very young age. Now, as at the time that he was retiring, his net worth was around 5 billion. Between the time that he retired till now, his money has grown by 81.5 billion. 80, like you can imagine where it was 5 and now it is 89.5. It has I don't know the word to use. Like I had you see there's double, there's triple, there's quadruple. I don't know the word to use
Charlie.
to say it has
Let's
done
not
that.
even. It has pay.
You see, and this the man started investing in, let's say, his teens. Now it took him over 20, 30 years, even 40 years to amass as much wealth as he has done then. Now just suppose this with get rich quick schemes, Ponzi schemes. Oh, bring 50 CDs, I'll give you 2 million tomorrow. I'll give you 200 CDs tomorrow. 20 minutes later, you see, it's not sustainable. And for compound interest to work in your life, I want to give another example so that we see that it's not only money that it works; it is everywhere. So ice, snow falls. When snow falls, if it becomes, let's say, ice. Now our problem that we are having with ice sheets is not the fact that snow is falling more than it used to fall at first or more than we can thaw, but the fact that in the summer it is not hot enough to cool to warm the ice that fell in the previous winter. And so if the summer is not warm enough and it's a little cold, and we are all very happy that, oh, the summer wasn't hot enough, and it doesn't warm that ice, it forms a sheet of ice. Next winter, it will fall again. It will not make the summer warm enough to be able to thaw that and then the new one that has come. It solidifies and forms another sheet of ice. Taking that every year for 100 years, or let's say 200, or let's say 1,000 years, that's how come we have ice sheets. And that's how come we can skate and all of those things. You see, the point is not you get up and then you are rich. No, it is small steps that are adding up. And so there you have this, let's say you have achieved something, it adds up, something adds up to it, the two start working for you. Now the two can achieve three. So in that basket now, as Elikem would say, your chickens, in the basket you have 3 chickens or eggs. Now they are both, the 3 are going to work for you with what you are coming to add on to that. So you bring 1, now 4 things are working for you instead of the 1 that, let's say, you are bringing. Before you realize, you have 1 million things that are working for you, and that one that you are bringing is not making much of a difference as compared to what the one that you've already accumulated are doing on your behalf. And that's how compounding works. I want to give another example. So when I'm sitting down and then I'm a little bored, I go to the data bank investment calculator and go and see how much I'm saving right now. If I keep doing it for, let's say, 30 years, what am I going to get? So one time I got, I think, 336 million Ghana cedis. I was like, hey, Jennifer, you're not a small woman, no. And this is over 35 years. I don't want to say how much I'm saving right now, but it's peanuts. It is very, very small. But so I did 15%. You can even go and just try it. Let's say 1,000 cedis for 35 years at 15%. You will really see that, hey, it is not small money. But then I want you to try one thing. Do 10 years, do 20 years, and do 30 years. You realize that the 10 year, between the 10 year and then the 20, it grows. But then between the 20 and 30, it grows very fast. It almost doubles. So let's say if I got 50 million by 20 years, by the time I go to 30 years, I can get even 60 million. And that's the power of small things adding up and working for you every single day. See, if you don't have the power of compounding in your life, it is very bad. Now, to juxtapose it with somebody else in the story who was very rich as well, but who didn't have the power of compounding working for him, as Warren Buffett's own did for him. So there's
But
another
then
investor.
before you move on to that, I also want to just touch on this point of
Okay.
compounding interest, right? And I don't do this when I'm bored. You have perhaps your boredom habits are different, but I do this another times, like when I'm doing the analysis, and I've observed this trend. Let's take an interest rate of 15%. You know, a conservative interest rate, just around T bill, 182 day T bill thereabouts, right? And so you're investing at 15%, and every month you're making consistent deposits of let's say 90 cedis. You can reach $1 million, 1 million cedis in by the time you retire. That's, let's say you have 35 years to retire. Now, if you delay by 5 years to reach that same goal, how much time will it take you? How much money do you need to put in every month to reach that same goal by that same deadline? It doubles. You need about 100 cedis. Every 5 years you delay, it doubles until you wait till maybe. So it's like we talk about this, especially when it's retirement planning. So it's like if you are waiting till 40, for example, 40 to start saving for retirement, you will need like 6,000 cedis, or well, around 4,000 cedis a month to hit that same target. Meanwhile, somebody is just doing 100 cedis, 100 cedis, 100 cedis. And you know, an interesting thing, when you are young, 100 C's may seem like small. Your allowance guys how much? 500, 700, 800,000. It's like 10%. It's a huge chunk of it. But when in 5 years to come, 10 years to come, you'll be earning way more than that. And what is 100 cities to you? So guess what? You only invest 100. You actually been doing 200, 300. So that just because you've built that habit, it's encouraged you to do even more and it's going to propel you further. So yeah, just that was just to support that point on compounding interest. Please
Okay.
continue.
So juxtaposing this to somebody else who was also a very, very ferocious investor, but the person didn't have as much wealth as Warren Buffett had at the same time that they were comparing the two, because he started investing when he was 50 years old. Warren Buffett started in, even if he started at 20, now 20 and 50, that is a good 30 years for money to compound for the man that he didn't have. So he's rich. When we are using the term rich, he's rich. But then there are differences. So you see, when you have compounding working for you, you don't need to stress yourself. As Elikem said, if you put, let's say, 100 CDs aside, 50 CDs aside every month for 35 years, for 40 years, compare that to somebody who is putting, let's say, 500 CDs aside, or let's say 1,000 CDs aside when the person is 55. Believe you me, you are going to be way richer than the person without expending so much energy as the person is going to expend when the person is that old. So you need the power of compounding to work on your behalf. And I don't think it's too late for anybody. Even though we are saying that the best time for you to have invested when you were in the cradle, when you were born, the next best time to start is now. You still have time. You still have a lot of time for the money to grow and get chickens and babies for you to be able to compound for you. So I think anybody can start. You just need to make up your mind and then look for an investment. As Edikem was saying, 50% is quite conservative. So you can be doing it and then just keeping in your mind that you will hatch your eggs later in life and you really enjoy. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. Well said, Jenny. Well said. So we'll go on to the last chapter we are discussing for today, which is getting wealthy versus staying wealthy. I thought, the layperson, granted, I wouldn't think so, but if looking at the glitz and glam of life and the rich life people live, right? How the rich live, right? One would think, well, if I was smart enough to get rich, I might as to get wealthy. I guess that's the same. Is enough. What got me to where I am is enough to keep me going, right?
Yeah,
But the book says something different, doesn't it?
it does. It really does. So,
Yeah,
if I may go, it
yeah,
says
sure.
that what you use to get there is what you need to stay there is totally different from what you use to get there. So the skills that you need to get money have a good like have skills that will be able to command high with money, let's say for compensation, be able to amass wealth by means that, let's say, working and all of that. If you get an inheritance to, why not, all of that. But making the money stay after it comes, there's a totally different thing about it. And this is not only about finances. If you look in our world, very few companies make it past the second decade, let's say after the first decade or the second decade of being in existence. Very, very few companies make it past that. And every time that you see the rich people's list, there are very, very new people who weren't on that list 10 years ago. And when we're reading the Millionaire Next Door, we realize that a lot of the rich people, millionaires, are always first time millionaires. Like, when I become rich, before I realize I am off the list and somebody new who is also making it will come, and before the person realizes, so he or she is gone. So the skill that you use to get there is very different. And what you need to be able to get there, if I can go before you, Elikem, is paranoia. And shout out to Mimi for this. You should, so somebody was interviewed in the book, and the person's company had gone more than 4 decades. And when he was asked why they've been able to stay so long, the person said they are so afraid of getting out of business. So it's almost like the first time, let's say a startup. Hey, I'm so afraid if I don't do this today, I'll be kicked out. Like I'm a feeble business. If I don't stay up on my laurels and all of that, somebody will come and kick me out of it. So even though the company is a very big company, they still have that small company mindset of, if I don't do well, if I don't sit up and then maintain my status, somebody will come and kick me out. And that is what you need to be able to maintain your level of wealth. How that sitting there relax, that things will work out for your good. Yeah. I'll come back with more stories, but Elikem, you can go on if you have something
Yeah,
to say.
it's amazing, right? How these things work out. And I think something that's even surprised me about this book, this chapter, it's it really it keeps throwing me curveballs. The author starts with a certain story, and I think, oh yeah, this is how it's gonna end up. But no. It turns out the other way, right? Though we're comparing to the book was comparing two people who got rich and in different times and how
Yeah.
they each reacted when they got rich. And I just want to read that part, right? And one person, when the market went down, that's when he made his profit, right? And everyone was, if you got home and everyone was shocked. And he's like, um, why were you surprised? Like they were doing okay, but now they became extra rich. Now this
3 billion.
person think that when everyone was losing, because he was so smart and he could see the future and he was able to position himself well. He could still be so complacent, like we can see on screen. Maybe drop that comment. Not being complacent, he was still complacent and still taking as much risk as got him to where he was. Now, when another situation happened, he was not ready for it. That same bravado, that same risk seeking appetite made him overlever, take on too much debt. And debt is good, but too much debt now, that's bad. When is you can't afford to take that debt, you can't pay it off. When one thing happens and a house of cards, everything just falls down. So that's what got him in the bad situation. But the person who was able to withstand the time, right? What are some of the things that he learns? He learns that he shouldn't get carried away with debt. He learns that he shouldn't panic and sell during recessions. Calm down. Like this week, just this afternoon, I got a call from a client asking me, "Hey, so with this, all these credit downgrades that are happening, what are you going to do?" And me and Jennifer, you went with me to see a client last week, and I was with the city depreciating and all. I said, just calm down. It's long term. This morning, I wrote yet another long email you may have seen to another client explaining, calm down. We have a good strategy. In the short term, things will go up, down, up, down, up, down. But you come up with a good plan and you stick to it in the rough times. I'm not saying don't change plans. No. Only a fool say don't change your mind. But something's very drastic that is really shifting the curve, changing the whole system around. And that's what should cause you to want to change your strategy, right? So this person didn't attach himself to one strategy. When you realize that, okay, now something really material that's happening is going to is going to affect you, then you can reconsider, right? Another point is, um, don't mess with your business reputation, right? Yes, you did booga booga to get you where you got to. I may use the example of UT Bank when they were a savings and loans company, and there were certain business practices that they were doing to keep their to keep their non-payments low, so that people were always paying. There were certain tactics that they were doing, but when they became a bank, they couldn't do those tactics again. Then what happened? Now they are not getting their monies back, right? So it makes you realize that when you're at a certain stage, you are rising. Yes, those behaviors can get you there, but to stay on top, you have to be paranoid, you have to be frugal. Now that's the word Mimi would even prefer. Frugal. Mimi and David on our team, they would prefer those words. Be frugal. Don't just blue because oh Charlie, oh tomorrow, don't worry, tomorrow I'll go and do some another 1 million will come. Be conservative. There's this I can't say from and say hoda, so be conservative, think long term, have that plan and stick with it, right? Yeah. With for the sake of time, we wouldn't delve much more deeper. So perhaps if you have just one more point on this chapter, so that we could start wrapping it up on
Okay,
the
so I,
on
I just
staying wealthy. Mhm.
want to read just one small part that um, they said about Warren Buffett.
Okay.
So he they were explaining how he still stayed on top of his game even after everything that happened. So he didn't get carried away with debt. He didn't panic and sell during the 14 recessions that he has lived through. He didn't sully his business reputation. He didn't attach himself to one strategy, one worldview, or one passing trend. He didn't burn himself and quit or retire. And there are other things that, but I think this sums it up for me. And then one last thing I want to read before I call it a day. Keeping money requires the opposite of taking risk. It requires humility and fear that what you've made can be taken away from you just as fast. It requires frugality and an acceptance that at least some of what you've made is attributable to luck. So past success can't be relied upon to repeat indefinitely. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. I think we should just end it at that point. Very good part you read. It takes a lot of humility. That's a major thing I've taken from this book. you know yeah, money convos, most of us leading money convos are in the finance industry, but we always learn new things, right? And it's about being humble. We are also human. And so understanding the psychology of money so far has really made me understand how other people think better. I understand them, and yeah, it sounds crazy, but you know what? I kind of get it, right? And the getting wealthy part too reminds me, be a bit frugal. There are certain things that got you to where you are, but calm down. Understand it's a whole new world, right? You are not still hustling again. You're at a certain point, and you need to know what it takes to be at that point. Different seasons require different actions. So yeah, it's been a good discussion we've had so far. We've taken the first 5 chapters of the psychology of money. It's an interesting book that's teaching us loads of things, and we would really like your feedback. If was your first time, please do give us feedback. If you are coming with us from Clubhouse, also give us feedback. Let us know how this went for you, and give us more ideas of how we can spread the word and how we can expand the reach so that more people will hear these kind of conversations. I really wish we could get this book in everyone's hands, right? At least just reading a few of the chapters. No one's crazy. Luck versus risk, not when to call it quits, when to know enough is enough, compounding interest, how to stay wealthy. These are all good points that we need to have in our lives. So how do we let's try and get this in the hands of other people to read them. And even if you can't read them, join us as we are reading these books. We are starting with the psychology of money, and we've done the first 5 chapters. Next week we are reading chapters 6 to 12, 6 to 13. So do tune in same time next week at 7 p.m. GMT. We had a bit of a challenge sharing the link, but just come here on Money Convos 7 o'clock next week. It's gonna happen like clockwork. Yeah, don't worry. We'll be here with you to have these conversations. Even if you've not read the book, we will share our insights with you. So shout out to everyone in the audience. I see Desmond, Mimi, Danielle, Seiram, Prince, Bamura. Yeah, nice to see you here and interact with you. Drop the comments even after the show is over. Drop them. We would really love your feedback. Oh, and not forgetting, we are still having our clubhouse conversations on Thursdays. we'll be sharing the topic and upcoming topics later this week so that you have some foreknowledge. And if you can't be around, you can at least pick and choose which chance you want to be there live, but we encourage you to be there live for all of them. These sessions are also recorded, so they would be available. I see a comment in there. Are there hard copies? Yes, there are hard copies. So just send us a DM, and we would help you get these resources. Anyway, so Jennifer, that's been it. Any closing words before we go?
Okay. So I'll just summarize by saying that you are not crazy. You are not. What your money habits are can be explained by your circumstances. So you just need to, if you know you have some patterns that are detrimental to your growth, you just need to understand where they are coming from and then work at them. And also, as you are getting the money, start psyching yourself up so that you start developing keeping the money habits, and then be able to keep the money when it comes, so that you don't just get to the top and then start falling down almost immediately. Thank you very much.
Very apt closing words, Jennifer. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, so please do follow us on social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and share with, don't just follow us, send the link to other people, tell people about it, and so that we would all get wealthy very soon. Thank you so much for spending the time. Catch you on Thursday. I'll just
Bye.
say one last thing, one last audio before we go.
Do you want to be wealthy? Do you want to be in control of your finances? Do you feel like you mostly get financial advice from people who are trying to sell you a bank's products? If your answer is yes to any of these questions, then stay tuned because you are at the right place. Welcome to Money Convos, a club committed to helping people achieve financial freedom by providing education and guidance on personal finance and investments. We have a group of experts who share their knowledge and give practical advice with no strings attached. At Money Convos, we have candid, mature conversations about wealth, how to create it, grow it, and protect it. We share our experience and encourage our audience to share theirs and ask questions. Join us every Thursday on Clubhouse at 7 p.m. GMT. We also have book discussions that bring out practical lessons. So far, we have read Dumb Things Smart People Do with Their Money, The Richest Man in Babylon, and The Millionaire Next Door. Most importantly, we have one-on-one financial coaching sessions where we guide individuals through setting financial goals, retirement planning, budgeting, investments, risk management, and so many more areas. The goal is to get you to financial independence from whatever income level you're at. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and Clubhouse. The handle is at Money Convos GH, or send us an email at moneyconvosgh@gmail.com so we get you started on your journey to financial freedom. Now that you're all caught up, let's head into our next conversation.
Alrighty, we'll catch you at the next conversation on Thursday. Bye bye.
Kudos.